This is a Vulcan B.2, strategic nuclear bomber, designed to do one thing. That one thing was to fly higher and faster than any Soviet air defense.
Okay, wo geht's hier rein? Ah ja, ich glaube da. Herzlich willkommen im Solway Aviation Museum. Dieses wunderbare Außengelände haben wir schon angeschaut. Jetzt geht's nochmal rein ins Museum und dort kaufen wir uns Karten für die Spezialführung der Vulcan B. Viel Spaß! Wir müssen noch etwa eine Viertelstunde warten bis zur Führung durch die Vulcan und nutzen die Zeit zu einem Rundgang in dem kleinen Museum, wo es um die britische Luftfahrtgeschichte während des Zweiten Weltkrieges geht. Hier im Museum sind so alte Baracken noch aufgebaut. Hier so ein, ja, ich weiß nicht, ob da Sachen repariert wurden oder was vorbereitet wurde. Da gibt es eine alte Flakstellung. Und daneben so einen Flugvorbereitungsraum, wo man auch die Mannschaften und die Aufträge sehen kann. Ich nehme mal an, dass ich nicht der einzige Motorradfahrer bin, der auch von Triebwerken begeistert ist. Also da kann man sich den Klang schon vorstellen und guckt euch mal diese Kolben da an. Alte Sternmotoren finde ich auch absolut faszinierend. Sie erinnern immer ein bisschen an Boxer, haben aber technisch gar nichts miteinander zu tun. Aber hier gibt es einen Boxer, 4 Zylinder, wunderbares Teil. Und die Krönung der Antriebe ist natürlich so eine Turbine, besonders wenn sie von Rolls-Royce gebaut wurde. Hier im Außenbereich stehen ein paar Jahrzehnte Militärflugzeuggeschichte und gleich gehen wir rüber, da hinten steht sie schon in der Mitte zur Vulcan. Und ja, dann dauert es auch nicht mehr lang, dann geht die Führung los. Die Vulcan ist wirklich ein beeindruckend großer Flieger. Viel Spaß jetzt bei der Besichtigung.
This is a Vulcan B.2, strategic nuclear bomber, designed to do one thing. That one thing was to fly higher and faster than any Soviet air defense and drop a bomb on Moscow or Leningrad or Murmansk or Kiev. And that was its job. So long range, high altitude and very fast. It was designed by the guy who designed the Lancaster bomber in World War II. And at the end of the war, the British government said we should have an independent nuclear bomb and nuclear bomber deterrent. With one problem. Typical British, we didn't have a bomb and we didn't have a bomber. So in 1946, they said to the aircraft manufacturers, we need a bomber that can do this. You must be able to fly up to 60,000 feet. Forgive the feet and inches. Up to 60,000 feet and 600 miles an hour plus. So, and be able to reach Moscow and back. So that was the basic specification. We ended with 3 aeroplanes, the Vickers Valiant, the Handley Page Victor, and the Avro Vulcan, all doing the same job, and about 150 to 200 of each type. And that became known in Britain as the V Bomber Force, so Vulcan, Victor, Valiant. Okay. So that's where it comes from. There is a story about the names, but I can't remember it. So, the Vulcan, Avro, who built the Vulcan, decided on the delta shape, this triangular shape. And we took what intelligence we could from German design. So German design was right at the forefront of aerodynamic design at the war. So we took what we could. Obviously the Russians took loads as well, but we took what we could. And it wasn't enough. So the problems with such a big shape is control, how to control. So a normal aeroplane has a tail with elevators, and the elevators are the things that make it go up and down, and the ailerons are the things that make it do that. So how to do that? So we didn't know. So we stole the German stuff and then built 4 small versions of this and tested them. In those days, you didn't use computers. You put a pilot in the seat, you sent them off, and you said, how did that go? So over about 4 years, they developed the prototype Vulcan, and it entered service 1955. And at that time, it could outfly anything in the Soviet Union that could throw us. Nothing could touch it. So all great, all good. Wow. Oh, an old RAF trainer. Don't see them very often. Anyway, about 1961, 62, the Americans had a spy plane shot down, a guy called Gary Powers. It was an American spy plane, a U-2, at 65,000 feet. Then the higher, faster doesn't work anymore. So we have to change strategy. So they went from 60,000 feet to 200 feet. And they changed from high-level bombing to low-level bombing. But also they started to question, is it good to put nuclear bombs in things that can be shot down? And about 4 years later, they decided to put the nuclear deterrent, the UK nuclear deterrent, into submarines. And then these were effectively redundant.
Okay.
In the meantime, the Vulcan had evolved and got faster and better. So this has the same engines as Concorde. It has that power. And that power was necessary for the cutting through the air at that height. So the delta and the engines allowed it to fly that far. Our fastest fighters and our most effective jets could shoot these down, but they couldn't catch them. So if one of these got ahead, they couldn't catch them because they were just so powerful at that height. This one was built in 1961 and entered RAF service in 1960, I think it was March 1961. It served in 27 Squadron, 35 Squadron, and 230 Squadron, which was an operational commercial unit. They were mainly based in the UK and in Cyprus, in Akrotiri. They did a lot of training in America and Canada. In Canada, they could fly very low, and the only people that complained were the polar bears, so nobody bothered. But in Western Europe, they couldn't practice, so they go to Canada. It would carry one nuclear weapon, a blue steel missile or a yellow sun bomb. And the bomb bay starts here and goes all the way down. You see the black line down here. She still has 4 engines, 1, 2, 3, 4. And this bulge, this thing here, is what we call electronic countermeasures. So this is the only defense this aeroplane has. This aeroplane has no guns, no machine guns, nothing, just electronics. And we have a thing, aluminium foil, and it blinds radar. We called it window. Yeah. And flares. So, you know, when you see planes go and they go, there's lots of flares. Yeah, to deflect heat-seeking missiles. But that's basically the defense of this aeroplane. The little stick at the end, so the thing sticking down, this thing. So when they take off, they do that. And if they do that too steep, this bit hits the ground. This is all your sensitive electronics. So if it banged on the ground, that would send a red light in the cockpit and would warn the pilot he may have a problem. This here is rear-facing radar. And when we get in the cockpit, I'll show you where that comes out. From here, you can see the big control surfaces right along the back edge of the wing. And all of that is electronically controlled inside the cockpit. On the way down, if you hear a funny noise, it's a dying seagull.
Ah, okay.
And it's to scare the birds, because this is the biggest bird's nest in Carlisle.
Okay. So it's just artificial sound.
Yeah, just an artificial
They
sound.
use the holes in the plane.
There's nests, yeah. It's the same for all of the aeroplanes. Any hole. So in the spring, you just get things that pop out and you go, ah. Is what we call a RAT, a ram air turbine. If we lose electrics in the aeroplane, that drops down and it generates, it's a windmill. It generates electricity for the rest of the aeroplane. This is all fuel, so 14 fuel tanks, 4 engines, and a big bomb. 9,260 gallons.
Okay,
So that's about, was it a gallon to litre? It's 4, isn't it? So it's about 4 times that. So about 40,000 litres roughly.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Imagine that one trip.
So, and empty, this thing is, so like it is now, it's 44 tons, and full 91 tons.
Wow.
This is the only supersonic Vulcan, this one.
Okay. And the others were not.
It was an accident. So it was doing a test over the Mediterranean
Okay.
at 35,000 feet. And it went into a, they did the test, and it went into a dive. And it came out of the dive at 10,000 feet. Apparently it was shaking so much, they reckon it shook the problem and cleared the problem. In between 35 and 10, it went supersonic. And it rippled the wings, so it changed the wing shape, it rippled the wings and pushed the nose of the aircraft in. And then they made, typical RAF, they made the pilot fly it back to the UK in that, to get it fixed. So this one has been completely reskinned. That there is the periscope. When we get in, you'll see it. It's at one of the desks. So.
Okay, yeah, that'd be great.
So welcome on board. So, as we say, it's compact and bijou. It's very small inside compared with the outside. So, normally a crew of five people, pilot, co-pilot, navigator plotter, navigator radar, and an airborne electronics officer. So, pilot flies the aeroplane, yeah? So the RAF have a standard, they call it 6-pack instruments. If you look in front of the control column, you'll see there are 6 instruments and a Mach, what they call a Mach meter.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah?
Macht.
So those instruments are standard on all RAF planes of this period. So in 1937, the RAF decided on a standard format for instruments in aeroplanes, and that continued to today. So you can get in a basic trainer or a strategic bomber, you've got the same instruments in front of you. So it's basically how fast, how high, my rate of descent and ascent, my rate of turn, my bearing, and what was the other one? Yeah, and my bearing and my compass. Yeah,
So the equipment of a
standard
plane.
equipment. Yeah,
Standard,
but in a standard format.
Yeah.
The pilots can change the airplane without problem.
Yeah. So well, at least basic.
Yeah.
So pilot flies the airplane. The start buttons are all here, by his side. You would either start all of the engines at once or one at a time. They prefer one at a time. It's less damaging to the engines.
Okay.
You could start from 0 to 27 seconds maximum power. So it only took 27 seconds to power the thing up. And that was important because they would be on a 2-minute warning. So for Cuba, for the Cuban Missile Crisis, many crews were sitting in the aircraft with all of their equipment on, all of their kit on, ready to go with the bomb strapped and fully fueled on a 2-minute warning. And the 2-minute warning went, start the engines, taxi to the runway, get off. And the reason for 2 minutes was the missiles would take 3 minutes to reach Britain from East Germany. So that was during the Cuban Missile Crisis, we had maybe 30, 40 aircraft sitting with fully crewed for 2-3 days while it continued. And they would be all over the UK. So we didn't use one base. The RAF distributed the aircraft around 30 bases in the UK. So the Russians would hit Waddington, where they were all based, but they couldn't wipe out the whole fleet. So you still had this mutually assured destruction. It's crazy now. It's absolutely crazy. Co-pilot would either be training to come and take over in after a couple of tours, or be in transit to another unit, but would be learning multi-engine jets and would be responsible for engines and fuel. So we have 14 fuel tanks in the wings and behind there. And we have in the middle a console for controlling the fuel around the aeroplane. The reason that's important is balance. You get all the fuel in one side, the plane won't fly properly. The co-pilot also looked after radios with this guy here, but also helped the pilot by reading out things. So would read the speed. So 10 knots, 20 knots, 50 knots, 100 knots, rotate, take off. For coming into land, 500 feet, 400 feet, 200 feet, 100 feet, touch. Yeah. So that sort of help. They would also bring all the food on board for normal training flight, 6 or 7 hours in here. For the Falklands, they were in here for 15.5 hours. So they need food.
Did they fly to the Falklands from here?
No, from Ascension Islands down in the South Pacific. So they flew from here to Ascension, and then Ascension to the Falklands.
Okay.
It took 15 tankers to get one bomber to the Falklands. And they worked it all out. In England, we say on the back of a fag packet, on the back of a cigarette packet. But they literally, I've seen the A4 sheet where the senior refueler worked out the fueling program from his head. Amazing, guys. The other thing that's important is food. Is when you've finished with the food and the drink, you may need to go to the toilet. So they were all male air crews. There were no females in the RAF at that time. But you'd each be given one of these. Sometimes they just went down there. But normally you would be given one of these, and then you put it very carefully somewhere, because if you didn't want to throw the aeroplane around. This space down here, if they were doing a long distance flight that was non-operational, they put a chemical toilet in there. But this was designed to be an old-fashioned bombardier position. Lie on the ground with a manual bomb sight and drop manually. So if all of this failed, you bomb from there.
Okay.
In the back, you've got your navigator, who would basically get the plane from its base to the target and back, hopefully. The navigator radar, where you're sitting, using that screen there, would take over the aeroplane about 50 miles away from the target and control the pilot, direct the pilot onto the target using the radar screen there. So he would see this hazy picture of the ground, and he would use that to guide the aeroplane to the point of bomb release. If it was a low-level attack, the plane would pull up prior to it and drop from about 10,000 feet. The weapon was this blue steel. And all the way to the target, this would have been picking up where it was, its navigation information from the aeroplane. And as soon as it released, it would know where it was, and the nav radar would have programmed the target into it. And it would head towards the target. It was in between cruise missile and dumb bomb, basically, somewhere in between.
But you have to program it yourself so that it finds its target.
So it finds its target. This was in some ways quite horrible. The fuel was hydrogen peroxide, so they had to wear special equipment to fuel it. So it basically the same rocket motors as came out of things like the Comet and the German fighters at the end of the war. It was basically the same technology. The third position here is the airborne electronics officer. So if you lose electrics in this aeroplane, it's critical. You can't fly. This person could generate more electricity, ask the co-pilot to stop the engines, so if an engine was on fire or whatever, or if a real emergency, strip all the power from all of the other systems to keep the controls flying. The other job was, you remember the rear-facing radar? The little orange screen there is the warning screen, and a little white dot would appear. But also in his earphones, he would hear a tone, like a buzzing noise or like a squeak, or depending on what was attacking, everything had a different noise. And they used to test those about 10 miles from here at a place called RAF Spade Adam. Any Soviet system, missile system, was brought here and activated there, and the Vulcans used to fly in attack mode and test all the radars, so they knew what was what. Yeah. So whenever there was a war and there was captured Russian equipment, it used to come here. And then the final job for this person was radios and communication. So there's a Morse code key, but all VHF, UHF type radio. And the little thing on the desk with the red is a periscope. That's the thing. So the only person that can see what is happening at the back of the aeroplane is this person, because he has a periscope that faces down and also a periscope that looks along the top of the aircraft. This is all oxygen lines and communication lines. This is it's all gone horrible just over the years, but this is all the old communication lines and oxygen lines for people sitting here. Everybody's got their own. Yeah, they would wear helmets, masks. This was pressurized, but they weren't on oxygen all the time, but they normally kept their masks on, because if it was depressurized, they'd be killed, especially at height. So in case of emergency, the pilot would shout "abandon aircraft," and that red box would flash "abandon aircraft." Now, the pilot and co-pilot have got ejector seats. They could just go bang, bang. The roof here, these things explode, and the roof goes off, and the ejector seats go out. These three have to blow that door open so there's a button there. So do that. The door would go bang. Everything in here would be sucked out because of the air pressure. Would then rotate disconnect all of this, take all your oxygen mask off and your helmet and everything off, and disconnect yourself from your seat. Press a button on your seat, which would explode a cushion underneath your bottom and push you out the door. And number 1, 2, 3, out the door. Your parachute is on what we call static line, which is just, it's attached to the aircraft. And as you got clear of the aircraft, it would pull your parachute. So you didn't have to worry about that. We lost 15 Vulcans, and in 10 of them we lost the crew at the back. In 5 of them we lost all the crew. So it was much more dangerous in the back. But this is standard in all different types of V-bomber. The RAF, this was the standard in the Victor, the Vulcan, and the Valiant.
I mean, it's cynical, but the pilots are more valuable.
Yeah. Well, I think that was probably the attitude. Although these guys here were trained, specialists. Yeah. So, but yeah, that's probably where they did develop ejector seats, but it cost too much to install, so we didn't use it. The Americans would have sent the whole crew capsule, like they did on the F-111. The whole crew capsule just had a parachute, so they stayed in their seats, and the plane broke up around them, and they just floated down. So that's about it, really. Was that okay? Was that okay?
Thank you very much. It was great.
Thank you very much.
Informative.
So this one stayed in service as a bomber until 1977. And in 77, she was converted to a reconnaissance aircraft. And she served until 1983 as a reconnaissance aircraft. And then she came here. She didn't take part in the Falklands campaign. She was being, she was in deep maintenance. So every so often, every number of flying hours, they went into deep maintenance, which is strip off the skin, X-ray everything, make sure everything is still sound, put it back together. So she came out of that 6 months before she retired. She's a new aeroplane in many ways. So,
Update.
yeah. Anyway, I'm being what we call chivied from below, so I need to call it there. But I hope that's been okay.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
What's perfect?
Can I give you this back?
Huh? Ah, okay.
I don't want to go. I would normally go.
Ich habe wieder festen Boden unter den Füßen. Ja, was soll ich sagen? Die Führung war klasse. Hier hat sich jede Minute gelohnt und ich kann euch das nur empfehlen. Und vielen Dank an unseren Guide. Also das Highlight hier war jetzt wirklich die Führung durch die Vulcan, aber auch die anderen Flieger, dadurch, dass man überall rein konnte, das war absolut interessant. Also ein Museum ganz nach meinem Geschmack.